Wanted to talk to you real quick about prayer. This is something that we just did a deep dive in on our Bible study, and we talk a lot about this, and the different programs we're about. But I want to make sure you guys saw this too, and just present this thought to you: like, what if God actually wants you to win? What if God is actually for you? What if God is actually working behind the scenes on your behalf? What if God actually has given you the power and authority that he says he has? What if God is backing your play? This is an interesting thought. It's like when I say those things, it's like, yeah, I think God is actually for me. But then when we live, pray, think, have conversations, we may not act like that. I want to show you something. When it comes to prayer, it's not mysterious. When it comes to prayer, it's not something that's like, oh man, I hope I pray and get God's will guessed correctly, then I'll have it. Let's hope and see if he does it. There's actually conditions to be met for answered prayer. Now, I can go really, really deep on this, but for this video, I'm going to try to keep it short, just give you something to think about today that you can apply immediately. Okay. So I'm going to read Mark 11. This is Jesus talking, verses 23 and 24. Actually, we'll just keep it to 24. And then I'm going to read to you some notes from the Dake Study Bible, which is my favorite study Bible. All right. Jesus tells you what to do. He says, therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you have received them and you will have them. Why do we make it more complicated than that? Let's break this down for a minute. Therefore, I say to you. All right. Jesus says, therefore. The scripture right before it, he says, assuredly. So I assure you this to be true. Whatever things you ask when you pray. All right. So listen to that. It sounds simple. Whatever things you ask. Whatever. Is it money? Is it something with your marriage? Something with your kids? Is it health? Whatever. Take a second. The thing that you are praying for, does it fall under that category of whatever things? It could be something nice. It could be a luxury. It could be like, man, I want a boat. I really enjoy being on the lake and on the water. I like to fish. I like to host. I want to bring my family out there. It's something that just brings me a lot of joy. It helps me get my head clear and I can talk to God when I'm out there. And then I can also host and do fun stuff. Okay, cool. Boat. Perfect. Whatever it is, it could be a health issue. It's not that big a deal. I've kind of learned to live with it. I've had it for 25 years. Ain't that big of a thing. Whatever things. Your thing falls under the category of whatever things. And Jesus said it. So either you believe him or you don't. But it's important to be aware if you're believing him or not. Whatever things you ask. Now, here's the condition to be met. When you pray, believe that you receive them. When you pray, believe that you receive them. And you will have them. Now, that's the condition. You've heard this before. But where we're missing it is we're not actually checking ourselves and saying, am I actually doing that though? I heard it put this way. You can ask God for success, but if you prepare for failure, you will get what you've prepared for. For instance, let's say you've got a financial bill. You got a $3,000 bill that you got to pay on Monday. All right. And it's coming due. If you pray, God, I thank you that you meet all of my needs according to your riches and glory. But then you're over there preparing the message that you're going to send to these people, telling them how you don't have the money and you need a little bit more time. You're practicing the speech to get out of your problem or predicament. That's what you're preparing for. That's what you'll actually get, because you don't meet the condition that is required to get prayers answered. See, praying to God is not this mysterious thing of like, we have this huge misconception. We think his will is like this list of things that he's predestined for you to do or have. And if you pray and you guess correctly and it happens, then you get it. But if you guess incorrectly and don't get it, then it wasn't his will. It must not have been God's will to meet this need or to heal my daughter or whatever. No, you didn't pray in a way that met the conditions of answered prayer. Listen to what it says in the footnotes here. Mark 11, 23 and 24. Their promises, they are fulfilled when certain terms are met. Okay? Here, faith without doubting is the condition to be met. Faith without doubting. All right? The promise is that everyone who meets the condition will be answered, even to the moving of mountains. All right? So that was the verse right before it, Mark 11, 23. Assuredly, I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. That's not how we've been praying. We've been wishing, we've been hoping, we've been really, 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 really wanting, but you're not praying like this. This is a prayer of power and authority. This is how Jesus tells you to pray. The context is right before this, he'd cursed the fig tree, withered up, disciples saw it and were like, whoa, how did you do that? And he tells them how he did it. And then he says, you can do it. Mark 11, 22, have the faith of God. Assuredly, I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, the condition, but believes those things he says will be done, the condition, he'll have whatever he says. Therefore, I say to you, whatever things you ask, when you pray, believe you have received them. Believe you have it now. Believe it's done. Remember, faith counts it as done. We've talked about this a lot. Faith counts it as done. You prayed for it. You spoke it. It's done. Don't go prepare for it not to happen. Somebody put it like this one time. He said, if you are believing God for a coffee table, you would go rearrange your furniture in your living room to fit the coffee table. You are preparing because you know you got it. That is belief. That is faith. That is the actual conditions that need to be met. It goes on in the footnotes here. It says, everyone without exception is promised everything they ask for in prayer, provided it qualifies for the answer. Qualifying for the answer means you believe, you have faith, you have trust without doubt. So you need to check yourself. If you prayed for something and it did not happen, most likely, very likely, pretty much 100% of the time, you weren't in faith for it. You had doubt. You prepared for it not to happen. You made preparations. You made plan Bs. You just did the just in cases. Just in case I don't get the money by XYZ, I'm going to start moving some things around, selling some things, going to go see if I can get a loan from the bank and get some extra credit on my credit card. Except you just asked God to meet your need, and then you prepared like he wasn't going to meet your need, or just in case he doesn't meet your need. You doing that disqualifies you from your answered prayer. It wasn't that it wasn't God's will for that to happen. You just didn't meet the conditions. You didn't really believe. I've done this countless times. That's why I'm telling you guys, don't make that mistake, because Jesus makes it clear. Working with God isn't hard, complicated, complex. It's not performance based, other than your faith has to be involved. See, the new covenant we live in, it's all about your faith, belief, and trust. All of it, even getting saved. It is not, you can't perform perfectly enough to get saved. Impossible. Jesus was the only person who did that. He died on the cross. Now we get what he deserved, which he earned salvation. He actually did earn it. Now we get that. That's the whole concept of the new covenant, the New Testament. All right. So even when it comes to answered prayer, your prayer, it wasn't not answered because you cussed or sinned or did something like that. No, it wasn't answered because you didn't have faith. You didn't meet the conditions he lines out clearly in Mark 11, 23 and 24. I mean, we could go way, I can keep going on this, but like even look at stuff like Matthew 7:7. You guys know this. Ask and it will be given to you. You can close the book right there if you believe that. Seek, you will find. Knock, it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone. But the condition to be met is we must believe that to be true. If you do not believe it to be true, you will not qualify for the prayer to be answered, the prayer to be met. It's simple. It's just belief. He's only asking for you to trust him, to be completely confident, to rely on him, to believe the words that he says. Isaiah 55:11. Man, God says, every word I sent, every word I send always accomplishes that for which it was sent. One translation says, my word never returns void of power. It always does its job. It always does what it's supposed to do. All right. That's how we look at this. So when we read these statements in the Bible, we have to read them like they're absolutes and truths. So the condition to be met for answered prayer is faith without wavering, faith without doubting. And I think the problem is we don't realize we're doubting. We don't realize, because in the back of our head, we don't understand how it works. We don't understand God. We don't understand his nature. We're thinking, man, I'm praying for this, but if it's not God's will, I'm going to do this backup thing. I'm going to get my credit cards ready, and I'm going to go call the bank to see if I can get this loan. Then that will allow us to pay these bills. We'll have to pay them back over time. It'll get us in a little bit of debt, but we'll be okay. No. You just asked God for success, but you prepared for failure. You're going to get what you prepared for. You ask God, you meet the conditions of Mark 11:23. You refuse to entertain doubt. You refuse to entertain unbelief. You kick that out. That's the enemy, the adversary, trying to get your prayer to fail. So the more that happens, the more it jacks up how you see this whole thing and how you see God. And you think he's up there like this, kind of just being like, not going to grant that wish. Not that one, not that one. I guess that one, he's been pretty good. No, it's not how it works. I don't think you consciously think it works like that, but you might subconsciously think it works like that. So part of my job is to get you to stop and look at your situation, be like, what am I doing? What am I saying? What am I thinking? Okay, that's not how it works. What does the Bible actually say? Let's go read Mark 11:22, 23, 24. Let's go read it for ourselves. Let's study it in a couple translations. Let's get an understanding of it, and then let's go apply it. So, action step. You're going to look those scriptures up yourself. 2, stop for a minute. Think about what you're praying for, what you've asked God for, what you're believing him for, and then make sure you're removing any doubt. Doubt that it's going to happen. It is God's will. He delights in the prosperity of his people. Everyone who asks receives, if you meet the conditions. You can say to a mountain, get out of here, and it will listen to you if you believe you have what you say, if you believe you've received it. So super practical way to look at this. Whatever things you ask, when you pray, believe you've received them and you will have them. All right, just that simple principle that Jesus gave us. Let's take a look at that and let's make the decision. I'm going to believe it. I'm going to believe that this is true. All right. So whatever you're asking him for, you need to see yourself receiving it when you pray. You've got it right now. I have it. I can see it. I can envision it. And now you start to feel what that's like to have the thing. It feels amazing. I'm debt free, paid off your debt. Okay. I see it. I got it. I have it. And then you stay in that state, even if you have to work at it, you stay there until you actually receive in the natural the thing you've asked him for. Man, listen to this video a couple times. We're wrapping up. Listen to this video a couple times. Get this in you. This is a new way of thinking. You have not prayed this way. You've not thought this way. You've not seen your relationship with God this way. So now we got to turn some things around here. Let's align it back with the word. Dive in for yourself. Mark 11, 22 through 24. Jesus is talking. Jesus is teaching. Read it as an absolute. Read it as a true statement, because it is. All right. I love you guys. Stay tuned. I got more of these coming out. We'll talk soon.